We're going to start on Chapter 2, which is about strategic planning. And of course, this goes on continuously, and it typically starts at the corporate level and then works its way down through the organization and is continually monitored. We have our session on metrics, and this goes hand in hand with that, and I'll show you where momentarily. The objectives of Chapter 2 are to explain business planning, the 3 levels of business planning and strategic planning, and then go from strategic planning to corporate level down to the functional level of marketing and marketing strategy. Okay, so strategic planning, again, it starts at the corporate level, and we're going to go through all of these different pieces. You first of all have to define the company mission. We'll talk about what those are. Then you set company goals and objectives. You design your business portfolio. And then once you've done that, then you do the planning at the other functional areas. Now, a marketing plan can be done at a corporate level. It can be done for individual products. It can be done for a marketplace. For instance, Wright State University has a marketing plan, and the Raj Soin College of Business has a marketing plan. I would strongly suggest that students write a marketing plan for themselves, and hopefully when we go through this, you'll see why. It's very useful in figuring out where you're going to go with your career and how to get there. Okay, what is business planning? And we call it here the big picture, and it is the big picture because it's the entire organization. Defined as ongoing process of making decisions that guides the firm both in the short term and for the long term. And we'll talk about all the different pieces of that as we go through this. And planning obviously helps make decisions, helps review the things that you've done, look at the performance of different pieces of the organization, see if you need to revise anything. It's just like planning for anything, planning for a party, planning for your wedding, planning for your career. So it's the same sort of thing. It's where do we want to get to and how do we get there? Now, there are 3 levels of business planning. The strategic planning, that's done at the top level of the management, the C level as we call them today. And this is the group that actually defines the organization's mission and what it is the entire organization is going to do. Now realize, of course, if you're talking about a small business as opposed to a larger corporation, all 3 levels are done probably by the same type of people. If you have a very small organization, strategic planning, the functional planning, and operational planning is probably done by the owner and the few people that they may have. So once you've done your strategic planning, then you go to that functional planning. And you can do that at your production group, you can do that at your finance organization, you can do that at operations, you can do that certainly in marketing, and that's what we're going to talk about. We will talk about how to do a marketing plan, but in this particular situation we're talking about functional planning for the marketing department. And this, of course, is done by the marketing executives and the individuals in the organization. Now, this is not done in isolation from the strategic planning group because obviously your marketing department or your production inventory control department have to be in line with that strategic plan. Then you get down to the operational planning, and that's done really to do what you planned on doing in that functional level. So this is usually done by your marketing managers. They are looking at the marketing plan which came out of that functional planning, and they are implementing that plan. This is where your metrics comes into play. Business planning is absolutely critical that it's an integrated activity. You cannot have your sales organization out of sync with the production people because then you have salespeople selling things that production people haven't made or can't make. Or your R&D people have to be working with your marketing group because marketing knows what the competition is doing and what your customers want, and they should feed that back into your research and development. In other words, every piece of the organization should be working together. Okay, strategic planning, we defined it as multi-product groups may very well have something called SBUs, Strategic Business Units. If we may take Wright State University as an example, although obviously we aren't producing products per se, you might consider that our strategic business units are College of Nursing, College of Engineering, the Medical School, the College of Business, Education, so on, so on, so on, Liberal Arts, Math, and Science. So each of those colleges would be one of our SBUs. Now, it's a little more difficult to look at colleges that way, but certainly for a multi-product organization, that's what they do. So strategic planning, then, you can do at that corporate level or at that SBU level. Here are the steps in your strategic planning. Now remember, this is going on at the corporate level. First of all, you define the mission. And we'll talk about what a mission statement is. We'll look at a couple. You evaluate the internal and external environment. We'll talk about what that is. And this is an ongoing process right here that you're constantly monitoring both internal and external pieces of your organization. Set your objectives. Now this is at the organizational level or your SBU level. Get your business portfolio. We'll talk about what that is again. Then you develop those growth strategies. Okay, first thing we do is define the mission. And what a mission statement does, and these, by the way, are rather difficult to write. If you're working for an organization now, you might go look at their mission statement, see what it says, ask them how they put it together. But it basically determines what business you're in, who our customers are, and really what it is we're trying to accomplish. It is indeed a formal document, and we'll look at a couple in just a moment. Now, these are the characteristics of a good mission statement. Again, they're very hard to write. Every good mission statement should fall under all of these criteria. So first of all, it is market-oriented, meaning it looks at the marketplace, your customers, your competition, to determine what it is that you're trying to do. You don't necessarily look internally for a mission statement. It needs to be realistic. In other words, it has to be something that can be accomplished, has to be specific, has to say what it is that you do, has to have distinctive competencies, meaning what do you do better than your competition or anybody else. Should be somewhat motivating and somewhat visionary. And I qualify those last two because you can't be so motivating that people are kind of over the edge, and you can't be so visionary that you can't really see where it is you're trying to go. Okay, let's look at this. And let's pretend for just a moment that the term PepsiCo is not on there anywhere. So let's read this and then let's go back to our criteria and see if this fits the criteria. Somebody's overall mission is to increase the value of our shareholders' investment. We do this through sales growth, cost controls, and wise investment of resources. We believe our commercial success depends upon offering quality and value to our customers and consumers, providing products that are safe, wholesome, economically efficient, and environmentally sound, and providing a fair return to our investors while adhering to the highest standards of integrity. Okay, this is PepsiCo. This is a big company. You'd think they could do this well. Now, we're going to look at these and kind of evaluate the statement. Is it market-oriented? Well, in there they talk about consumers and customers, but that's it. The shareholders are not external. Shareholders are the owners of the company. Is it realistic? Well, given that all they really say they want to do is increase the value of our shareholders' investment, I suppose that's very realistic. Is it specific? If PepsiCo weren't on there, you would have absolutely no idea what company this is or even what industry they're in. Do they talk about their distinctive competencies? None. Absolutely nothing is in there. Is it motivating? Not particularly. Is it visionary? PepsiCo rewrote their mission statement. And this is their mission statement, and I looked recently, and this is still the one they have, from 2007. Let's read this and see if it's any better. To be the world's premier consumer products company focused on convenient foods and beverages to produce healthy financial rewards to investors, sure is long, as we provide opportunities for growth and enrichment to our employees, business partners, and the communities in which we live. And in everything we do, we strive for honesty, fairness, and integrity. Is it market-oriented? Certainly more so than the last one. Is it realistic?
Well, they want to be the world's premier consumer products company. That may be difficult to do, but doable. Is it specific? At least they talk about convenient foods and beverages. Did they talk about distinctive competencies? Nothing whatsoever. Is it motivating? Maybe a little more so. Is it visionary? A little. This is better, but it certainly still doesn't meet all the criteria, so realize how difficult it is to write one of these. This is just a fact. Okay, Xerox was for many years the leader in business. And I think this statement is very true. Had Xerox continued to define their mission copy machines instead of providing document solutions, that's a change, that's a whole different focus. Probably they would not be around had they not refocused what they were doing. So that's just an example of how important that mission statement is. Okay, here's another part. Once you've determined what the mission statement is, now you have to do that internal and external environment. And we're going to go into what all these are. But your internal environment, basically do a SWOT analysis that looks at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then the external environment looks at everything outside of the organization. Okay, your internal environment, controllable elements inside a firm that influence how well the firm operates. That's your products, your employees, your production facilities, anything that's within the confines of the organization. And if somebody made me wear that hat, I don't think I'd work for the company. But oh well. Okay, your external environment. Now these are the pieces outside the firm that could hurt you or help you. And if you look at what these are, legal, political, ethical trends, look how those change all the time. Economic trends, if companies could have predicted and monitored the change in 2008, perhaps we would be in better shape today. Competitive trends, what are they doing? Technological trends, if you can keep up with that, I'd like to know how. And then social cultural trends. What's going on in the demographics of our market and of the country? Some of the trends that we can talk about, look at the social cultural changes that have come about in how we eat and what we eat, how we exercise or don't. But there certainly seems to be an emphasis on being healthy and eating better. I don't know if it's working, but we're certainly trying. Here's your SWOT analysis. These are your strengths and weaknesses, and those are internal to the organizations. Your threats and opportunities are external. And that does exactly that. I would suggest you do one of these for yourself. And the reason is when you're in a job interview and the person asks you what are your strengths and weaknesses, you've got it right there. Okay, once you do a SWOT analysis, you look at those organizational objectives or whatever level you're doing this at. Now, objectives need to be specific, measurable, attainable, and sustainable. And if they're not, then they're not a very good objective. When you look at writing a career objective, keep these pieces in mind. Should be specific, should be somewhat measurable, should be attainable. Now, whether or not a career objective can be sustainable, that's up to you. But so many times I see students write a career objective that states I would like an entry level leading to growth. That doesn't fit any of these criteria, and basically a company doesn't know what it is you can do or want to do when you write that. So look at these criteria when you write your career objectives. Okay, here's your business portfolio. There are a variety of ways to look at this. We'll go through one of those. But again, if you think back to Wright State, our portfolio would be something like the School of Medicine, the College of Engineering, the College of Business, so on, so on, so on. Now, there's one way of analyzing your business portfolio. This is done by the Boston Consulting Group. They've been around for a long, long time, the BCG matrix. And this, essentially, you would look at all of those units, products, subsidiaries, whatever level you're doing this at, and you categorize them. And this is based upon market growth rate and relative market share. Your stars, again, you have high growth rate, high market share.
Your cash cows are those that have a high market share but low growth, meaning they're extremely stable. They're called cash cows because they usually are the units that support the rest of the organization. Question mark, you're not real sure what's going to happen. And dogs, I wish they wouldn't call them that. They are products or units that have low growth rate and low market share. Doesn't mean you should get rid of them, analyze them and see what's wrong with them, and then decide what to do. Your growth strategies, we have several of those. Your product market growth matrix, you can look at that and you look at your growth possibilities based upon type of market, type of product. Here is a product market growth matrix. And here you look at the market emphasis, the product emphasis with existing products or new products. So your strategy here would be market penetration, product development, market development, or diversification. Okay, here's your marketing strategy. This is a definition of what we can do now in that marketing functional area. The activities of selecting and describing one or more target markets and developing and maintaining a market mix that will produce mutually satisfying exchanges with target markets. This is not something that's long when you actually write the statement, but it takes a long time to figure out just what exactly it is. And notice in here that what we have for each market that we have, we'll talk about markets when we talk about segmentation. You have a marketing mix, those are your 4 Ps, that are different for every segment of your market. And you look at what you have to do, how you attract them, how you retain them, how you maintain them, and so on. Similar to corporate objectives, a marketing objective, again, needs to be realistic, measurable, and time-specific. And of course, within the realm of what the organization is trying to accomplish. Now, if you look at this one, our objective is to increase market share by 40% and to obtain customer satisfaction ratings of at least 90% in 2016. If you look at the criteria, this is not a well-written objective. First of all, it doesn't say what your market share is. I would say more like we want to go from 20% to 30% or something like that of the market. Customer satisfaction, again, you don't know what it is now. You don't know that if 90% is good or bad, and how are you defining customer satisfaction. We do, however, have the time in there, so we know that. Otherwise, this is not well written. Okay, marketing planning. You do your SWOT analysis. You set your marketing objectives. You can't set the objectives until you've done that SWOT analysis. And remember, we've also done our external and internal evaluations. Okay, you develop those marketing strategies. Again, select the targets and look at your 4 Ps. Marketing mix strategies. Product strategies, your product design, packaging, branding, support services, product variation, features, so on and so forth. Pricing strategies. Types of strategies depending upon to whom you're selling. You should look at, first of all, your demand from the marketplace. What are your customers willing to pay for this? What are your costs? And what are your competition prices? Those are the 3 variables that go into pricing. Customer demand, costs for the organization, and competitor strategies. Here's your promotion strategy. It's your advertising, your sales promotion, that's your little p, all right, as in those short-term incentives, public relations, direct marketing, and personal selling. Here are your distribution strategies. And again, you want strategies for all 4 of your Ps. So the strategies are how, when, and where the product is available, who's going to deliver this, how's it going to get there, how long does it take, what conveyance are we supposed to use, and so on. This is all done in your planning. Here's your implementation and control. Now here's where your metrics come into play. Your controls, these are the metrics that are going to measure your performance, and you look at those against what you're trying to do. Your action plans tell you what's going to happen, who's going to be doing it, and so on. Here are your metrics, and I'm not going to go over this because we have a whole session on that. That's how important it has become in marketing. Here's a template for an action plan. This is the kind of thing it might look like.
what is this action plan? What's the purpose? Describe it. Who's supposed to be doing it? Have a timeline. Have a reasonable timeline. Here's your budget. Don't forget that budget. And then measurement and control of the action plan. These are all the pieces that go into a marketing plan. You might want to ask to look at some, see if companies have them and see what's in them. The budget, make sure that whoever's putting the budget together for this particular marketing plan has a reasonable purpose and justification for what amount of money they're giving to the marketing group to do this. Your control and action plan, you need to have some kind of contingency plan in there so that you're going back and seeing with your metrics if you're attaining your objectives, and if so, fine. If not, what do you do? How do you fix it? The last thing that we want to talk about in here is a marketing audit. And that is something that you take your marketing plan, you go back and see whether or not you're actually attaining those goals. This normally should be done by an external group. Internal groups tend to be a bit too biased when they do this. So again, you look at that marketing plan. What's the purpose of the plan? What's the situation? What's the strategy? And are they attaining their goals or not? And that's what a marketing audit does. Okay, so I hope that explains what we do in business development. And we'll go on to something else now. Hope you're having fun. Talk to you later. Bye.